Good Monday morning. If you're watching this, I am on Christmas vacation. Hope that you are too and that you're having some great R&R and reflecting on the year and resting and getting ready for a new fresh start. During these weeks where I'm gone, I'm posting a few interview sessions that we had at Nordic.JS with a few really amazing people. This one that you're going to watch is with Sara Veira and Avdi Grimm, two fabulous people, and we talk a lot about community and mental health and like feeling good as a programmer. And they have some amazing insights. They're very interesting people, and I'm sure you're gonna like it. Keep having a good Christmas vacation, and over to the interview with Avdi and Sara.
Hi, nice to have you here. Welcome.
Thanks.
How are you doing?
Oh, we're doing great.
Amazing.
Good.
Pretty good, yeah.
Okay. We'll just hand over to you and let everyone go have some fika and coffee.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This is an amazing emceeing day today. You guys are amazing. I love the Sharknado opening. And over at the studio, we have Avdi. He talked yesterday about like the narratives of our code in our lives. And Sarah is going to talk today about building dumb shit.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. Before we do that, I just wanted to, since they were talking about the swag shop there,
Okay.
I just wanted to make a small shout out to Hell on Earthis for being so amazing during the stream. We're gonna send you some swag because thank you so much.
Exactly. But how are you guys feeling today, day 2? Is it too overwhelming? How's the vibe overall?
I took a nap yesterday, so I'm pretty pumped today. It was the best decision of my life.
It is such a
so
good
today, I'm very let's do this.
Nice.
I'm excited about this.
Having a good nap in the middle of a conference is the best thing
Honestly,
in the
having
world.
a good nap in the middle of the day in general. Doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah, kids are very wise, actually. They know the good shit. What about you? Are you feeling lighter? Well, kids take naps.
Aren't you my age?
I don't know.
I'm 27.
24?
Fuck, I feel old now. Okay.
I'm surrounded by infants.
I'm gonna get the fuck out of here.
Perhaps. Yeah. But how are you feeling? Lighter? Your talk was amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely easy ride now after getting that out of my system.
Awesome. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
We actually were talking about your talk because there's so many things that we didn't know about. Okay, actually this is a very reasonable way to reason about code, because when you have event triggered things, it's much more easier to reason about than, okay, this has to happen, and if it fails, the whole thing crashes. So that's pretty interesting. How did you figure that out? What led you to have this whole insight about life and code and everything?
So I was talking to somebody about this last night, and they were like, where does this kind of insight come from? And I was like, well, I mean, it comes from the same place, I guess, that a lot of music comes from, which is excruciating pain.
Oh, fair enough.
Art comes from pain, pal.
Yeah.
That's a very good source.
You cry and code comes out.
Okay, cool. It was a great result.
But that is just how you grow. That growth comes through pain. I really like the whole way of viewing yourself as the current end event in a series of events.
Yeah, you are personing.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
You're personing quite well right now, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. It's and also success could be viewed as that. It's just a long series. It's just the end event in a long series of failure events.
Fair enough. So our god are asking us to switch position. So you guys should switch for some reason.
David wants us to switch.
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Is that good enough,
Is our
God?
god David?
Yeah.
Okay,
Exactly.
cool. Oh, great. Now I can read everything. on the computer.
Perfect. Okay, so we were wondering, how do you guys, experienced developers and international speakers, juggle your personal lives with, well, whatever this is?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I want to say that it's not easy. I feel like the most time you spend is in airports. Airports are a huge waste of time. I don't know if you've noticed that. But
Yeah,
They are
for sure.
time sinks of doom.
Exactly. The trains to the airports are the pain of our mankind.
Yeah.
For sure.
In those 30 minutes in the goddamn train, you're like, I could do so much with my life. But honestly, it's quite hard, but you learn to kind of live on the road and do work wherever you can. And do life wherever you can, I feel like.
How do you do life wherever you can?
I mean, wherever there's internet, there's life.
Oh.
You tell us.
That's a way of seeing it.
Or you take your wife everywhere.
Yeah, that's also very good. Or they do conferences
trick,
together.
Doesn't it work? Like, it
Yeah,
works
no, but it did.
wonders.
Like, no,
Exactly.
when we were like long distance dating, we were just piggybacking on each other's conference thing.
Yeah.
So it's like,
it was super cool, but also very expensive.
Oh yeah. I tried going to Mexico for a while. That was expensive.
Wow.
Flights are expensive. I never knew that being from Europe.
no.
And having people paying for you to go to conferences.
yeah.
It's
I
been
get so
long
confused
since
when-
I have to pay for my own trips. I
It's
don't
like-
know how that feels anymore.
Bro, this is 30 years. I'm like, but I'm paying for my flight.
Ew.
Wow.
Ew, I'm not doing
My
that.
credit card?
I'm not
Yeah,
giving money to
exactly.
Ryanair. That's disgusting.
No, somebody else should do that for me.
Exactly,
Do
because they're
conferences
gross.
book you on Ryanair? Wow, that
That has
low.
happened.
That's low.
Yeah.
There's the
Okay.
only flight that is from Berlin to my hometown.
Okay, what is your hometown? Somewhere
Porto.
in
I'm from Portugal, from Porto. The top of
yeah,
Porto.
awesome.
The top of Portugal.
So what about you, Avdi? How do you like manage things?
Okay, so it's tempting to just like say something really lightweight about this, but honestly, like this is kind of a difficult topic for me. And so last night in my talk, I talked about how my life has changed in the last couple of years, and a big part of that was shifting from somebody who saw like being a family man as like the center of my life to suddenly my family wasn't around me anymore.
Yeah.
So my shift, I think, has been a little different than for a lot of people.
Having like your a core foundation just ripped out that
Absolutely.
you thought was like, central.
the sort of the core of my identity was like, okay, I am husband and father, and that's what everything else supports that. And I think for me, a lot of people are like trying to get to that point. I think for me, a big part of the realization was coming out of that. Part of my healing coming out of that was realizing that I am that, but there is another important part of my identity as well. Like that's not the only center of my identity, and part of it is also in the wider family that I have, the wider community that I have, and then I have important work to do in the world besides that as well. And so for me, honestly, having the work that I do, having the involvement in the tech community has been part of that like finding myself again process.
Yeah.
So for me, some of the balance has been actually just embracing this community. But also, I get a lot of benefit now. Something I was talking about last night was the just finding local community.
Yeah.
Right,
And the importance of that. It's so easy for us to be like brains in jars and only communicating online, and it's really, really important to have those people that you can have a beer with.
Yeah.
And so for me, I also have a local community that has pretty much nothing to do with the tech scene.
Yeah. Sara, do you have a local community, or do you mainly maintain like relationships like besides your wife? Like,
Are you asking if I have friends?
Do you have friends?
Yes, like, do you have no? Do you,
have friends,
do you have,
it's
do you have real friends?
Like real life friends?
they're real?
No,
No, I do.
like where you live. Like,
I live in Berlin, and I've been living there for about a year and something, and I did make a couple of friends, which I accidentally met in conferences before I moved to Berlin. So I did make a couple of friends in Berlin. I do have some, like, I'm going to call them leftover friends in Portugal, which I'm pretty sure you do in Brazil as well, like the leftover friends. They're still there when you travel there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But I do have a couple of friends in Berlin, and I do know a lot of people in London, for example, so I do eventually go to London for a while because I did live in London.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like you end up having like tiny communities inside of your city. So like most of the meetups that I run, I actually run with a friend in Berlin.
Okay.
Yes, I have friends.
What-
I feel
what
like I
led
have to
you
prove this
move
now.
to Berlin,
Do you want her
though?
number?
Can she come here in the live stream?
Yeah, okay, I'll call her.
It's gonna be a little bit hard, but what led you to move to Berlin in the first place?
Honestly, this is not going to be a really cool answer because I made a Portuguese salary of 40K, and I had to pick a city where I could live with 40K.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, fair
And it
enough.
was Berlin, Vienna, or London because I would get a raise. But I lived in London for 3 months. I fucking hated it.
Oh, fair enough.
And Vienna is very beautiful, but kind of boring. So ended up with Berlin. So
Okay.
it wasn't like, I fell in love
Which
with
is the
Berlin.
inverse.
Actually, I got
Yeah.
robbed twice ever I went to Berlin. So my wallet got stolen in
Oh my
Berlin and in
God.
Frankfurt, and I still moved to Germany.
Oh my God. Okay, that's
Can
interesting.
I just say something about his thing?
Of course,
sure.
yeah.
I feel like my thing was actually kind of the opposite, where my personality and my like individuality was a lot tied to the community that I lived in.
Oh.
And it started changing when I started like being more in person with the community and doing meetups, and when I met my wife and stuff like that. I feel like it was actually kind of the opposite, because I never had a real community in Portugal, and when I moved, like all of a sudden, like I was this person that was flown over and people wanted to meet, and it was fucking weird. So that kind of became a part of my personality, and I kind of like ignored all the rest. Like, and now I feel like I'm going through the opposite of what you went through, basically. Just kind of like funny. And by funny, I mean kind of depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, like I saw so many of your talks, and you talk a lot about like mental illness in the community and in tech, and it's things that like people don't usually talk about. And how do you feel that the community support is to these questions of like that are more personal and less like technical?
I feel like, honestly, someone has to do it.
Yeah.
So like my idea is someone has to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't care anymore. Like I think I've reached this point of like, so the problem I had to deal with panic disorder, which meant that I was basically scared of everything. So like I was scared of life. It was fucking terrifying. And like a cat was that kind of. I love cats. No, not cats. But I feel like once I kind of fixed that, I became the complete opposite, in which I was scared of nothing. I was like, you know what? Fuck this. If this plane crashes, I die, and it's fine.
Yeah.
So I became to a point where it was like, someone needs to talk about this, and I feel like I'm in the best position because I used to do talks when I had panic attacks on stage, and now I don't anymore, so it looks like it's easy. And I basically went through the exact opposite, where it's just like, everyone should know that brains are fucked.
No, but I feel the same
Amazing.
way. Like,
It's
how
a
did
very
you
important message,
Yeah.
yeah.
How did? So you said you fixed it. How did you fix it?
Oh, I went to therapy, and I took both anxiety and depression medication,
Okay,
which I still take.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, but like basically have get a professional. Like this is it. Like
But that's
this
the- I
is a
think-
problem. Like it's a problem. Like it's like you don't. When you break your leg, you go to a doctor. When your plumbing breaks down, you get a plumber. But for some reason, like when your brain starts breaking down, people are like, no,
That's
I should
bad,
fix
yeah,
that myself.
Oh, no, honestly, like that was my. I think this is a bigger problem when you're a man, actually.
Yeah.
And I don't think as much in Nordic countries, but in Portugal, Spain, Brazil, Mexico, it's like the
Very
man
sexist
thing.
places.
Yeah, it's the macho
exactly, yeah,
thing in
yeah.
like Latin countries.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I am good.
Like boys don't cry.
Yeah,
kind of
boys
thing,
don't cry type of
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
for sure.
And it's also, I think, worse when you're a program because you think you're so fucking smart.
Yeah,
And you're
yeah.
like, I can fix my own brain.
Exactly,
You can't
yeah.
fix your own
Yeah,
brain.
it's kind of like
very
it's funny. Like I literally got this, saw this on Instagram. The suicide rate for boys and girls are the same until 10 years old. Then when boys start reaching 14, it becomes doubled. And 15-19, it's 4 times more
Because
likely.
you're not supposed to have feelings, Matthias.
Exactly,
Yeah.
precisely.
Yeah,
No, it's
Right.
worse.
No,
Because
precisely.
men don't talk about it.
Yeah.
No. So
Way less.
we just kill ourselves instead.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
Okay, but
That
going
turn-
on that note, but trying to be less dark, how did you cope with seeing your life like dramatically changing? Like, how did you cope with that lack of your identity, as you said?
Yeah, well, I mean, like Sarah was saying, one of the things that I knew I needed to embrace early was therapy. When things kind of fell apart, that was one of the early things that I did was like, okay, I'm going to find a therapist and I'm just going to make a habit of going regularly. And I kind of I said, you know what, I'm going to go like every 2 weeks, and even if I don't have something to talk about, because what I kind of realized was that if I normalize this for myself, it's going to be a lot easier to go when I do need to. And it's not going to be a project. It's not going to be like, this is like this huge friction.
It's not a step, yeah.
It's like, of course I'm going. I go every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times we just, sort of shot the breeze. But it put me in a good place. But yeah, also just the pursuing local relationships.
Kip Vandersea asked here, what tips do you have for practical tips do you have for building local networks and especially for those who aren't located in tech center cities?
Yes. Okay. I do have things to say about that because I went from, like I said in my talk, having absolutely nobody, no local tribe at all, to having a really rich circle of friends. And I did that pretty deliberately. So my recommendation for people is like, first off, think about the things that you're interested in. It doesn't have to be tech. Your social life does not have to circle around tech. My local circle is almost entirely non-tech related. Go to meetup.com, go to your the Facebook listing of local meetups, and just scroll through all of them. And you will find some that are like, oh yeah, I used to be interested in that. You know, I used to be into canoeing or something like that. Just go through all of them, check off all the ones that are interesting to you, and make a point of going to one every week. Different one every week. And when you find one that's like, oh, this seems like a neat group of people, you know, and it's not just like 2 people, you know, it's an actual group. Yeah. When you find one that speaks to you, just start going as a habit. Don't pressure yourself to like meet people. Don't feel like, oh no, I didn't like introduce myself. It's you know, I failed at this. Just show up. Yeah. Keep showing up, and you will meet the people that you need to meet over time. And also just get used to. It's hard the first time, but get used to saying, "You seem cool. Do you want to get lunch?"
Yeah, for sure. I think like this is more of a thing in America and here in Europe where people tend to be a little less warm. I think like in Brazil, at least for me, that is not like the first problem, but then the problem of people actually committing to that is way harder, and actually like putting emotional like bandwidth to actually like make friends or invest in something. And I think here in Europe it's a little bit different. You going to something means that you're invested, not in Brazil.
No. So in Portugal it's a little bit like, let's get lunch someday. Yeah, sure.
They never show up. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think you guys taught us that because.
Oh yeah, no, we're terrible, and I'm so sorry for what we did to you.
It's fine.
You got the shit language. I'm so sorry.
If you want to take back the gold,
Spanish.
yeah, I mean, if you want to give back the gold anytime, it's fine. We'll take it back. But anyway, that's really interesting because like sometimes it's really hard to break that barrier where you're like in a bubble, not necessarily a comfort zone, but you're trapped in a silo, and then you want to get out of there, and it's not something that you can put on a recipe and say, oh, you have these steps to make friends. It's really organic, so it's nice to have like a more pragmatic approach to the whole thing.
I really like this, like Sterling openly talking about mental health issues among developers. I love this. It's not rare, and we need to be open about this to everyone. Being open and confident about mental health is normal. And Wild Peaks also points out that there's a game on the topic of mental health and tech workers on Switch. We call it Liza.
Oh my
that
God.
I did not know about.
Can someone post a link? That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be really great.
But sorry, you were saying?
I completely forgot.
Okay.
Good talk.
Well, fair enough. Okay, so David, what do you have to say? What is the stream saying? David, our God.
Hello, do you hear me?
Oh, I know what I was going to say.
Okay,
you think you're way weirder than people actually think you are.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
when you go into a place where you don't know anyone, you're like, I'm being super weird. No one notices.
Yeah,
like,
everybody
literally.
is just faking being normal. It's such a great insight.
In such a shitty way.
Everybody is so weird on the inside. It's like the best insight that I had in the last
It's a shared
years.
interest.
Also, no one's a real adult. Everyone just learns to fake it better. That's what I've learned.
Exactly.
Yeah. Go, David.
David.
I can't hear you, but go, David.
Hello, do you hear me over there?
Yes.
We hear you.
Yeah,
Loud and
now you
clear.
see here the tech corner.
Oh, yeah.
I love this fisheye lens. Okay, so I just have to say that as you saw, the chat is really enjoying these like softer issues on mental health and about developers and all that stuff. It just feels like we have to speak more about this. And Matthias, you did a great video on why you were going to therapy. That was really successful. That's what's so fun with Fun Function, that you just put that video out there.
Yeah, and the reception of it was what, to me, was the most amazing thing. People were so receptive, sure. And it's one of my most popular videos ever, actually.
Yeah, and it's just too little talk about that. I don't know if it's just that developers are really stressful, or getting like that the whole environment around development is like deadlines focused and that you want to, I don't know, perform or something like that. But we need to talk about this more. Yeah. So I got a question from Tyrone 199. Where do you all work?
Where do you all work?
Well, for the world. Guys, please.
Well, presently, and for a long time, I've worked for myself. I do a lot of training and educating and coaching. Like my biggest thing is Ruby Tapas, rubytapas.com, which is Ruby screencast site. But I also do like consulting and coaching and stuff like that.
Sweet.
Okay.
Is it tiny videos?
It is tiny videos. Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. The whole.
Oh, tapas. I get it. All right.
I shoot for 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, that's
One idea.
honestly very
What?
smart.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's really cool.
Sarah?
I work at a company from the Netherlands called Code Sandbox.
Oh, I love it. I
Code
use it
Sandbox
so
is
much.
so nice.
Yes! Nailed
Yeah.
it.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
Who doesn't know Code Sandbox?
Yeah.
Like everybody has been exposed to it. Like,
Well, I had no idea that they were Dutch, but now
Yeah,
I
they're
know.
Dutch. Both the founders are both from Enschede. I don't know how to say it.
Okay.
But they're from the Netherlands.
Oh, nice.
And I work out of Berlin. We're basically a code editor for online, like you can do React, Angular, Node, whatever you like. Online, don't need to install anything. And yeah, that's basically my job. It's pretty cool.
And
I
you
respect it.
recently switched jobs, right? How are you liking Code Sandbox
Oh
so
my god,
far?
they're so nice. They made a website for my wedding.
What?
Yeah, like they made a website. They said like I was gonna do this the Sarah way, and
Oh
they
my
bought a
God.
domain
Oh my God.
called Sarah Alex Wedding.
Oh my
That
God.
wedding? That's so cool.
And they recorded a Zoom video of them saying congratulations, and I cried on the goddamn train.
oh, I
my
could have.
God. For good
Jesus,
reasons,
That's
for
so
once.
beautiful.
So yeah, I love this job.
That's awesome.
I
That's
also
super
changed
cool.
from being a developer advocate to being a developer, mostly because too many traveling, and
Yeah.
also I miss building shit.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
building things that like people are like, this is cool, and you're like, this.
And
with me code.
what are you building currently? What is the technology stack? And
The technology stack at Code Sandbox, it's all, so the back end is Elixir. Interesting.
that's Brazilian. Did you know?
Yes, I thought it was
Wow. It's
Portuguese. I was very
Brazilian.
sad.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so the
from,
problem with
Team-
like Portuguese people is that the names are the same, so we get very
It's either
excited.
us or them. Yeah.
And we're like, is he Portuguese? Because there's like 10 of us, and it's like, it's always Brazilian.
Of course.
But it kind of like
We raised the
We're the
Kraken.
next generation that
know,
works.
it's so much better. I'm
But
so
kind of
sorry
going
for the
back
language.
to like the one thing you said, like you switched from being a developer advocate to being a developer
Yeah.
because you missed development. Because do you have any tips on like that whole thing with getting back into development and getting back to the passion of creating? Because I'm kind of like in this position where like I've kind of like accidentally turned into developer advocate.
Yeah,
You
you're
have to really
basically a developer advocate.
Yeah,
now.
and, like,
less
I've-
blames though.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
But it's kind of like I feel like I'm losing touch with programming and losing like the spark that got me into it from the beginning. Like, do you have anything that you've been doing like to like rekindle the passion for programming?
So I think I'm actually gonna like get into this a little bit on my talk, and my idea around it is just don't overthink what you're building, and honestly just build dumb stuff. Just like build tiny. Also, don't build stuff that takes 2 weeks. So that's how I started building stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna build this huge
is too much.
registration with lit, and no, fuck that
Okay.
shit.
Okay.
Build something that you can do in the max of 1 weekend. So
That's a
so-
fucking good idea.
so you don't lose like the spark of it. And so basically, like I have this Electron app that I did in basically a weekend, and then I need to do a couple of things, and I just gave up on it now because it went past the
That's
threshold.
as far as it goes.
That's the
MVP.
threshold that I have. It's
The
like
weekend
one
of
weekend.
Oh, but that's a really good advice, honestly.
Yeah.
What about you, Avdi? Do you have any tricks and,
Well-
and things that you do?
First off, I've never been passionate about programming.
Okay,
and-
that solves it.
But
You don't need to rekindle
I
love
anything
this.
if you never liked it
This
in
is
the
a,
first
this
place.
is
That's a
actually
good
this is a
opening.
pet peeve of mine.
Oh, no, this is actually about
I think that the word passion is way overused in our industry, and I think it's used as a tool of engaging people into jobs, like as if it's saving the world kind of energy. Like they're taking people saving the world energy and they're saying, come over here and just pour that into the code,
Yeah,
and
right,
I promise it'll change the world
And
somehow.
make us profit. Yeah.
Make this your identity, and I
Yeah.
really don't like that. So I'm very
sure.
careful about the word passion. I save my passion for the really important stuff. I am an enthusiastic programmer, and I'm quite happy with that, but not passionate. But as far as like regaining my enthusiasm, well, first off, like, do you need to? Like, there's nothing that says you have to be enthusiastic about programming. We can have seasons in our lives.
Yeah.
And you can have a season where you're more enthusiastic about sharing what you know with other people, where you're more enthusiastic about understanding the workflows that people need and figuring out the domain, or working with customers, or leading, so it's fine to have different enthusiasms. But as far as like my own getting back to the enthusiasm, I've discovered that doing like teaching and training and coaching for 7 years has done a really good job of making me really itch to be back in coding. So that'll do the trick too.
Yeah, fair enough.
I love that answer. David,
David has a question. So what is it, David, that's coming from the live stream?
Yeah, so Denise is asking, did you all go there by plane? And how do you think about flying in context of global climate change? And we are in Stockholm,
Holy shit,
where
okay.
Greta Thunberg is from, so I guess this is pretty
It is a hot topic, yeah, exactly. Well, both me and Matthias came by subway because we live in Stockholm, so that settles it. But what about you guys? Yay!
you did.
I did from Denmark.
Oh my god, amazing. Awesome. I suppose
what's the
you
question?
have to. Did you come here by plane, and how do you, let me read it again.
Yeah.
Did you all go there by plane, and how do you think about flying in context of global
Basically,
climate change?
are you guilty over all the flying?
I did
Me
come here
too.
by plane, and I don't have a reasoned out response to that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think like it's not just like let's not take planes, because for me at least, like, and people in my condition, like I live in a completely different continent as my family.
Yeah.
I can't just not take planes. But there is a cool thing that's called the climate budget.
Yeah, this actually, I subscribe to Go Climate Neutral, which is kind of like, it's actually created by Spotify. It's kind of like Spotify for like buying climate, what's it called? Climate compensation thingy-mabobs. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So you just subscribe to it.
exactly.
You just enter like how much you're flying and like what your lifestyle is, what you eat, if you have a car, la la la, and then they just bill you like a monthly fee, and that compensates somewhat for your carbon footprint, which is sort of like what I do, because like there's only in my job I would have to like completely change my career to
not fly.
not fly, which it's tricky. You also have to view it from the perspective of like who are you flying to something, or are you flying to someone?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you are flying to a place instead of like 100 people flying to you, then
Then fair enough.
yeah, exactly. It's not a clear-cut situation.
There's also companies like KLM, which is one that I take a lot. It's from the Netherlands. And all of the companies that are the same, like alliances, KLM, do allow you to give like all, because they check how much your flight is, and you can actually give it back the money that they will need to like clean up the air, basically.
Oh, that's amazing.
Which is also pretty nice, which I usually do that as well.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
How is it? What is the like biggest flying trick that you have? Because you fly a lot, so you know
most planes in Europe
information.
never get full. It's just a
Really?
fact. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know that planes in North America usually actually get full, and like the Americas in general. So if you get stuck in a middle seat, just be the last one to get in. There's like an
Then you can
80%
choose.
chance that you'll just get another seat.
Oh my god,
someone
that is
will
the
not
best
show up.
trick. Thank you so much.
That's clever.
David has something to ask.
Oh wait, I have another thing.
And Sarah has something to
I have
say.
another thing for planes. If they try to take away your backpack, say you have medication on it, they by law cannot take your medication off.
Oh, that is a very good one.
Awesome hack.
Okay, my mind is blown. Okay, David, please.
Whoa, that was some life hack.
That was
Try
so
to
life
top
hack. Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and also like the whole thing with flying is a very, very complicated topic, of course. But what's so great is that we have this live stream. So, so now like we have
amazing.
1,100 attendees here, and now we have the horn, so it's getting ready for the next talk. But we also had like 5,000 people almost from yesterday that tuned in that didn't have to fly to
Fair
Stockholm.
enough. Exactly, it's a good hack.
And Razzie Tassi in the chat says the biggest reason I started a remote agency, she was based in Stockholm before, is because lots of developers are not comfy with open spaces, and including myself, can't focus with mess around me and people disturbing when I focus.
Oh, that's a really
And
good point.
I sort of agree with that. I like going to an office, but I don't like an open office. I like to have a closed office because I like to go to work.
Yeah.
So my question is for Sara and Avdi, how do you prefer to work? Is it at home, in the sofa, or in bed, or how do you work?
For sure.
Yeah. So
Sarah and
that's,
Avdi, I'm not sure if you guys can hear David since you
No,
don't
they
have
can't.
the earpiece.
Yeah.
So David asked, what is your preferred environment to work at? Is it in an office, and is it at home? What is it in like an open space? What is your preferred environment?
Mine is
to work?
usually at home. I usually prefer to work at home.
Home office.
Yeah.
Cool.
I also yell a lot at the computer, so.
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
Isa
so-
does that too.
Yeah, in Portuguese.
In Portuguese, yes.
A lot of
Yeah.
caralho.
Caralho, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of caralho.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Just so you know, that's an F-bomb.
In Portuguese.
But all of the curse words in Portuguese basically mean the F-bomb.
I use them
translate
as
anything
commas,
else. It's
actually.
beautiful.
Exactly.
One time someone asked me to translate, I was like, that means yuck. And they're like, oh, all of them mean the same thing.
Yeah. It's very straightforward.
It's straightforward, yeah.
What about you? What is your preferred way to work?
There's some mix of, I think. The mix
Uh-huh.
is nice.
Yeah, I think I really enjoy like working with a team and having people around, but sometimes that destroys my focus.
Yeah.
So I think perhaps like having a balance between like, okay, 2 days in a week I work from home and like 3 days I just work in the office. How do you do things? Because like at Co-Sandbox, is it like physical? Do you have an office there in Berlin or is it remote?
Oh, sorry. We do have an office in Amsterdam, but in Berlin, no. So I work from home basically.
Okay.
So sometimes I do go to Amsterdam and work with them for a while, but I mostly just work from home.
How does that work? Can you keep your focus and like, because there's so many distractions at home and like.
Honestly,
how do you do that?
I find it easier to keep my focus at home than to keep my focus somewhere else.
Really?
Because usually there's not a lot of people talking to you when you're at home, and like you listen to your own music and like. You don't have to focus. You don't have to care about the world around you because it's your house.
Oh, fair enough.
And I need a monitor as well. Like that's why I don't go to a co-working space. First of all, because I don't want to pay $500 to get a co-working space with a fixed desk just so I can check my monitor.
Yeah.
Second of all, I need a monitor. I can't
enough,
work
yeah.
without a monitor anymore.
Yeah, for me, I think like yes, like less people talk to you when you're at home, but I have so many avoidance behaviors that I can do. I can procrastinate in so many different ways that I can't really do in the office. So basically, when I have to do some like coding bit that I don't really know how to do, like the laundry just becomes so interesting.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like, oh my God, all these dishes, I have to do something about this. So like, do you have any tricks for procrastination and how do you keep focus on your work?
Definitely getting out the door. Like I know, since I do most of my work from home, I have definitely noticed that like I'll be slipping into that like just sort of dithering space, and
yeah.
I'll be like, okay, all right, pack it up, out to the cafe because I am not going to get anything done if
Yeah.
I just stay in this headspace.
You just detect when you're going into like the doing other things mode, and then you
Yeah.
eject yourself.
Yeah, and you've been talking a lot about procrastination and avoidance behaviors in your therapy.
Yeah, for sure. Like for me, like I can't work at home. I am zero productivity at home. But I think that the difference is that for me, like the biggest distraction points are in here. So I kind of need things that pull me out of that. So for me, it's kind of like when there's another person working besides me that just kind of pulls me out into the real life and into work mode. Especially like my ideal situation is like pair programming. That's when I am easily 10 times more productive.
Oh, fair.
I can waste an entire day just like doing nothing but just bouncing my attention.
That makes a
back
lot
to
of sense
things.
because it's not only more interesting, it's also like quite effective in keeping your focus because like you're not going to leave the other person hanging, right? So like
I don't know. And
yeah.
you're not going to open like Hacker News or something.
Yeah.
Pair programming is fantastic for focus. It
I love
really
it, yeah.
is. And like, and in so many ways too. Like one of the first things I realized about it back when I was doing it in an office was like, not only do you keep each other focused, but like other people don't bother you as much because they're like, oh, they're working.
I didn't even think of
Yeah,
that.
that's
whereas like you're just
amazing,
silent
yeah.
in front of your computer, you know, it's easy for them to be like, you know,
Hey,
drop
what's
in and be
up?
like,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
got a question for you. But when
Exactly.
you're with somebody else,
Oh my God, that's
No.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you have any like experiences in the workplace where you do a lot of pair programming or do you usually work alone?
a lot of my experience is like really old at this point because, like I said, you know, mostly I'm running my education business.
Okay.
But yeah, I've had some really great pair programming experiences. I've definitely been like an advocate in the spaces that I've been in.
Yeah,
Have you ever?
And I do a lot of online pair programming as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going at. Like, have you ever done like remote pair programming? I've tried a couple of times, and it's always kind of messy. How do
So
you
I
feel about
actually,
it?
I've done a lot of remote pair programming. There was a period of my life where I actually supported myself as a consulting pair programmer. That
Okay.
people would
Amazing.
yeah.
I love the job title. Yeah, awesome.
Oh, we need more of that, though.
Yeah. So people would sign up with me to just work with me for a bit. I'd work with them for a few hours on whatever project they were working on.
That's so cool.
Ranged from like coaching to training to all kind, and. One of the things that I try to do in that situation, because like I'm sort of the consultant for them, is I try to stay really hands-off. Like, I will not allow myself to touch the keyboard, which
awesome.
is nice when you're remote pair programming anyway, because there aren't great solutions for like remotely controlling someone's computer.
Exactly,
But
yeah.
it's a great sort of forcing function because I have to communicate. Like, I can't do the thing where it's like, give me the keyboard.
Yeah,
I'll just do it.
exactly. Yeah.
You know, I have to communicate it, and that means like dropping down to whatever level of communication is going to get across what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's
Wild
an
Beaks
awesome
is
point.
pointing out that if you don't have someone to pair program with, you can Twitch stream while coding. He's even literally watching one right
that's
now on the other
nice.
stream. It's a nice background when
Okay.
you're programming yourself too, to keep you motivated and in
That's
space.
awesome. What about you, Sarah? What do you think about pair programming? Does it work for you?
We do a couple, some pair programming. We use mainly two softwares. One of them, I don't know the name, no idea.
Okay.
The other one is VS LiveShare, VS Code LiveShare.
I love
the
that
extension,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
really
works
like it.
actually pretty darn well.
Yeah.
So we usually like use Zoom and LiveShare. So we do try to do pair program, but it's very rare that we actually end up using these things, and it's mostly like, look at my code.
Yeah.
Where am I missing something? And it's
Yeah.
like, you have something really dumb
You have
there.
a typo.
Yeah, you just need like someone to look at the code that you're building.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those, you need to go to sleep and then you wake up and it's like, I'm
Yeah,
so
it's
dumb.
a fresh mind.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
we use Visual Studio Code LiveShare on the stream when I'm having guests on, but they mainly use it for selecting parts of the code,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
just to
yeah.
highlight things. That's the most important functionality.
Yeah, and it actually works pretty well. Like, the team did a really good job. Like, and it's actually pretty useful. I don't use it a lot for the actual coding, but it's actually pretty useful to know that you can just do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it
for
works
sure.
pretty well.
Yeah.
I think it unblocks you in the places where you need to get unblocked.
Oh, that's awesome. To close off the interview, do you guys have any talks today that you're most excited about watching? I mean, you can say your own talk if you want.
Yeah, I'm excited about yours.
Oh, I love that flattery.
That was terrible. I was really excited about Shelly's talk, but that's already done.
Yeah.
So that was nice. And I really want to hear the Rachel Andrews talk.
Oh, yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
I am CSS person as
I'm
well.
also very excited because I'm usually the person that says, "Oh, I hate CSS," which I kind of do, but I am really looking
You should
forward
do
for
Code in the
something to
Dark.
like prove me
Exactly.
wrong.
This is therapy.
Because I suck so bad at CSS, and I really want to learn
should
it
do Code
like
in the
a
Dark.
good way to do
Oh,
that. You're competing at Code in the Dark.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah.
excited?
I am, because I've memorized a flexbox, and I think it's the first time it's going to be useful.
Amazing. That is amazing. I'll be hoping you win. Cheering in
I
Portuguese.
really want to know what the
caralho.
prize is, but no one will tell me.
No,
Probably.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't want to ruin
don't
this.
know.
whole
Exactly,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
like,
Make sure you
you know,
win then.
yeah.
I will stay until the end just to know what someone won, though.
Exactly.
I'm
well,
excited.
thank you. The party is also very good. You should stay for the party.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm staying for the party. Yeah. That's why I took a nap.
Okay, so thank you guys so much for the interview. It was so good to have you here in the live stream.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
If you want to talk to them, they're going to be at the conference. And over to the stage with Un and Olga.
Bye.